Hello everyone. So this is one of my most anticipated movies of the year. This is Antman and the Wasp: Quantumania. So this movie comes in at 2 hours and 5 minutes long, directed by Peyton Reed, written by Jack Kirby and Jeff Loveness, starring Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Jonathan Majors, and a lot more people within it. So yes, I was very excited for this movie. I feel like, well, of course, it's the first big major picture of Phase 5. I was ready for them to get out of the shakiness. That, of course, was Phase 4. So yeah, really, without further ado, this is going to be a spoiler review. So you have been warned. If you haven't seen the movie yet, you don't want spoilers, save this video, come back to it once you've watched it. But yes, let me get into my review for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So this film takes place, of course, a few years after the events of Endgame. Scott Lang is trying to reconnect with his daughter Cassie after, of course, being separated for so many years. And you can tell there's definitely a bit of a difference in how they want to adjust to life after Endgame. Scott just wants to, again, spend time with the ones that he loves, where Cassie is, well, again, too, she was raised by someone who saved the world. That's what she wants to do. She wants to save the world, change it for the better. They touch upon a lot of things from that kind of Captain America's, Falcon and the Winter Soldier did in that show, where they just talk about how the people who were there during the blip are really taking advantage of the people who lost their lives. And so they talk about homeless encampments and how the cost of living is just it's almost undoable for a lot of people right now. Homeless encampments, for people who literally got their lives stolen away. They lost everything after the blip. And there was just a little bit of commentary there, not a whole bunch that they touch into, but Cassie's trying to solve all these problems by protesting. Again, too, during her time when she was gone, she spends a lot of time learning about the quantum realm, learning the science, and she basically creates a beacon that can map out all of the quantum realm without actually having to go inside of it. So amazing technology, everyone's proud of her. But of course, Janet, who spent 30 plus years within the quantum realm, gets very scared about what's going on within the quantum realm. Boom. Something goes very wrong. They get teleported into the quantum realm and separated. So you have Hope, Hank, and Janet all in like one section of the quantum realm, and you have Scott and Cassie on one other end. And they did do a really decent job kind of explaining how vast and timeless the quantum realm was. I really like seeing the people within it, and just all the different worlds and creatures. And I do feel like it was really imaginative in a lot of ways. They had a lot of fun creating all these different types of people and rules for the quantum realm, and it looks really good for the most part. The CGI within, again, to crafting this world was really cool, and I like a lot of the things that they were able to do within it. I feel like there could have been a little more explanation and time devoted, again, to, this is a very short movie, but a lot of time devoted to explaining the rules and the people a little bit more. And because a lot of the side characters in this movie don't really get a ton of time to shine, or you don't really get to know them much at all. I feel like, to kind of say this before going into my synopsis and talking about the whole movie, is that the Wasp, it felt like this should have been Ant-Man Quantumania, not Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, because we barely got to see Hope in this, or she barely got to really do anything within this movie. But again, too, those two sides are separated. Scott and Cassie get separated and kidnapped very early on, taken into a village, and in order to find Scott and Cassie, the other three meet with Bill Murray's character, to get information about where, again, the other two of them are, so they can reconvene and meet each other. And I found for like the first third of this movie, it felt like I was watching something that was written by a kindergartner a lot of the time, especially with the dialogue. Some of the writing and the lines in this movie are fucking terrible, and definitely eye rolling. A lot of the times my partner and I were looking at each other just like this is what they're going for. It felt really forced 'cause a lot of the times, like the Thor: Love and Thunder humor, where there's so many times within this movie where it's like, why does this need to be a joke? Why does this not need to be taken seriously? All those little things. Everything's so fast paced, and I find a lot of the dialogue is, again, too, when I wish they would have explained the quantum realm a little bit more. Just a lot of dialogue is, "Whoa, what's that?" Janet will be like, "Oh, this is that thing that does this in the quantum realm. It's timeless." And it's pretty much delivery like that. So that just was really hard to get into and take seriously when they're talking just like that for to a lot of the majority and things that they need to explain when they're talking like that. It's just really hard to get into. They did do really good job again to first illustrating how dangerous Kang is, that he has taken over so many worlds and people, and it just kind of in the background a lot of the times. People just refer to him as the Conqueror. You don't get to see him until kind of like the more middle part of this movie. So the second third of this movie is really when you get to learn a lot about Kang. But I did really like the setup that they had. It got me really, really excited to see him. Just the way people talked about him and the fear that a lot of people had around him just got me really, really hyped to know how they were going to build up his character and finally Jonathan Majors play the Conqueror version of the character. Like, they really took Kang seriously, and that made me really, really excited. So when it got into all the stuff with Kang, I loved it so much. But there is one more thing that I need to talk about really quickly. Is this movie made me extremely excited to see MODOK, because again too, the way that they kind of described him made him sound like a menace, and then the first appearance that he actually has is fucking fantastic and awesome. It is really, really good, and he is, again too, a machine that knows how to kill. And I really, really like the intro that they gave the character. Took off his helmet. His head is way too large, and the CGI was not complete. Corey Stoll looked really, really bad in the role, and it's really, again, so I've never taken MODOK seriously. He's never been a character that I've really liked, but yeah, the CGI on him is really, really bad. And the thing is too, is I feel like the character was handled horribly, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But for the first little bit, I found that they did a good job again to explaining the how he got into the quantum realm and transformed into this new body. They did some decent things with him, and yeah, it's you find out that he was the one who found the ping that Cassie was going and brought them into the quantum realm. And jeez, it's just really, really bad, the dialogue that they give him a lot of the times. And again, too, with the CGI, it's gonna haunt my nightmares. It's really, really poorly done. But yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about MODOK going on. But then when they introduce Kang, holy shit, is it fucking good. The first little bit that you get is from Janet's perspective, telling Hope and Hank how horrible he was, and again too, just how they knew each other decently well during the quantum during her time in the quantum realm. And you get to spend a lot of time with Jonathan Majors Kang, and he knocks out of the park with his performance. The writing around his character is great. Like the 2/3 of this movie is really, really good, and I was really sucked in because it's just about setting up Kang, and they did it in an absolutely amazing way. When he fights and shows off his power, it is amazing and so comic accurate, especially with his suit. I was just getting so excited. I'm getting really, really excited now. I can't wait to see more of his character. But yeah, oh my goodness. Just all the background lore is so accurate, and there's little teases about how he's Nathaniel Richards, and they are going to go down that line of, again, to just, you get little glimpse of the technology that they have within that he would have descended from Reed Richards' bloodline. Just all of these little things that are absolutely great with his suit, with his history, his lineage. Just little hints that that is the story that they are eventually going to tell, and it makes me so happy. And so we have an actor of his caliber playing such an amazing character, and again, so when he throws down, he is unstoppable. He's a menace. He is scary. He has some, like, I thought Isaac Clarke was the stomping lord of all time, but Jonathan Majors, King the Conqueror, has some of the most, like, scary, curb stomps, foot stomps I've ever seen in any medium. He was throwing down with his punches, and again, too, with just all the technology that he has, he's terrifying. And yeah, they did a really, really good job with him setting up again to his ship, his chair. You didn't really get to see a whole lot of the chair within this because a lot of it is him in the quantum realm trying to find a power source to power his chair so he can be able to travel everywhere. And seeing him build his empire was scary and awesome in so many ways. A lot of the time too, though, I did kind of find that his army was very pushover, almost like stormtroopery, just how easily they were able to be overrun in a lot of ways or defeated in a lot of ways. It didn't really take away from Kang's character, but definitely took away a little bit from the threat that he posed in a lot of ways. I found the way that they took him down was bullshit too in a lot of ways. I don't think his character is dead. I do believe he's going to come back, like this variance of Kang. But yeah, I didn't like the way that they handled his demise in this sense. I thought it was really, really lazy and rushed, but and again too, it was just a way to be like, oh yeah, the Wasp is in this movie too, because she's the one who kind of ultimately does it, takes him out. But yeah, I thought it was kind of a bullshit end to his character that didn't ruin his setup for me, because again too, his setup is absolutely fucking amazing. He's terrifying, he's scary. I'm so excited to see Jonathan Majors play all these characters and just keep on growing the character in so many ways, because yeah, he did an amazing job. And again too, um, I do want to say, as of right now, my review for this movie, as you can probably tell, isn't going to be very favorable. But when it comes to all Jonathan Majors, his version of Kang, and the way that they set him up and how scary he is, just all these things, that's a 10 out of 10 for me. So like that middle section was absolutely perfect. And these are the Marvel movies I want to see. This is storytelling I want to see. So well crafted and shaped. And again, too, there's just the rest of this movie felt like it was written by a kindergartner a lot of the ways. Just so goofy, so silly, not taking itself seriously. I hated Cassie's character throwing some of the shittiest daughter lines, and like, you're a bad father because you were blipped away, like these stupid things that just made me hate her character. I found it really annoying a lot of the times. And they did one of the things too where it took Scott years to be able to master the ability to grow and to become Giant Man and handle the stress that it put on his body, but Cassie was able to do it absolutely no problem straight away. And that, again, to just rub me the wrong way, it's something that Disney does with so many of their movies that I just really don't like, the way that they just make their characters special in that way for the sake of plot or the sake of moving things forward. There's also too the way that they take down MODOK. I fucking hate it so much. Again too, when they show MODOK's naked little butt being transformed to the suits, I really didn't like that. Just a lot of the lines that they gave him, I absolutely hated. He gets taken down by Cassie, who turns again to gets the Giant Man powers, throws a wicked punch to him, but then he gets into this line where all of a sudden he gets the humanity with him. He's like, oh, my name's Darren, I am not a dick, I am not a dick at all. And then he's the one to kind of stop Kang at one point in the movie, take him down, or take him down a notch in a little bit. And it was just lines that I absolutely hated. Again, too, when they were showing MODOK as an absolute murder machine and menace, I love that. That's what this movie should have stuck to, and they should have killed him off within this, as they did do. But like for Patton Oswalt and some like comic books, exploring that side of humanity that MODOK might have within him can work, but it did not work in this movie. I hated the dialogue that they had in it. It was just really poorly written, forced comedy that did not need to be in this movie, and just ruined the character of MODOK for me. Again, too, I was so excited to see him on screen, but when they started doing this stupid fucking dialogue with him, I never wanted to see him on screen again. And I feel really bad for Corey Stoll, because whoever wrote his lines did an absolutely horrible job. Same thing too, with everything to do with Cassie. I just don't really want to see her in Young Avengers are really moving forward a lot within this universe because I just found her to be a really poorly written character. Michelle Pfeiffer was great in her role as Janet. I did really like a lot of things they did. There was this really weird section where they were talking again to Bill Murray's characters introduced, and you could tell that they knew each other for a long time within the quantum realm. But there was these really begin to just force jokes about cheating and how hilarious, haha, they cheated while they're in the quantum realm. It's so funny. Hated that dialogue, but for the most part, she was great within the role, and I've been really excited to see Janet since they announced that they were going to do Ant-Man movies. So they did give her a pretty good storyline. Definitely made her a great hero when it came to the things of again to how she needs to defy Kang um in the past and in the present, so I'm taking him on now. Same thing to do. I've been waiting for them to give Hank a bigger role, and well, some of his again to the jokes just felt really forced that they made him make. He has a really great scene, and they really tap into the scientist version of him and using his brain and how smart he was in the comics. Using that, we don't get to see him use the Ant-Man suit or really anything like that, but he uses again to just the tech that he has at his disposal in a really cool way in this movie that I thought was a great scene, and definitely something too that's only going to make Kang stronger from again having to go up against Hank in that way. And I found too that setup was absolutely great, and I am really happy that they gave Hank more things to do. Again too with Janet, there's sorry I mean hope there isn't really much to talk about with her character. She's very not dynamic at all within this, and they don't really give her a lot to do. Paul Rudd was great in the role. Again, too, some of the jokes feel a little forced, but he definitely was a driving force of this. He was funny in a lot of ways, and I do really like the one thing that they did with his character that, again, just shows that no matter what version of him that's going to be, it's going to be he wants to reconnect with his daughter. He'll do anything for his family, anything to again to achieve his goal in any single timeline, every single version of him will again to just be there to help. And I really liked that little part that they had within this movie. And again, too, I found it was a really good dynamic where with Kang, every single variant is that you see within the first end credit scene of this is every single version of Kang is there to kill, there to conquer, there to have fun with the multiverse, essentially have fun with every timeline, correct things the way that they see fit. And yeah, again, I just love everything they did with Kang. The first post credit scene was great to see Rama Tut, Scarlet Centurion, and I believe Iron Lad a lot of ways was just really cool. And if those are going to be the three major players moving forward, that's absolutely great. They say that the Kang, the Conqueror within this is dead. I really hope that's not the case because that's just a shitty way to end his character. Yeah, I really like that first credit scene, and then the second one I did really like too. Is more so a trailer for Loki season 2. We get to see Victor Timely. So of course, Nathaniel Richards coming back to the past using technology to shape again to the world the way that he wants to, but then eventually becomes King the Conqueror. That's going to be the majority of season 2 of Loki. It seems like we get to see Loki and Mobius talk about again to just and see this version Victor Timely, who eventually will become probably the worst version of Kang in a lot of ways. So I did really like how they set that up. So really when it comes to breaking down this movie, I read a few things saying that this the directors and the writers originally wanted this movie to be a trilogy, like a three-part series, but they ended up with a 2 hour and 5 minute long movie. So I was really worried that this movie was going to be rushed. Yes, it is. The pacing's horrible. There's some just awful jokes. The whole thing again too with Modoc saying like I'm not a dick was I hated that more than the fucking kids scene in Thor Ragnarok. Again, too, it's just so many things that this movie didn't take itself seriously with. I feel like it needed to be longer, needed to take itself more seriously, and it just really didn't a lot of the times. I'm also adding this in a little later, so that's why my background is off right now. But the one thing too that really rubbed me the wrong way within this movie was that there is no mention of Ghost at all, which I feel like is such a shame because she was such a big part about the ending of Ant-Man and the Wasp, where they were going into the quantum realm to again to get the things that they needed, the energy that they needed to save her, but they never mentioned her at all. So just for them to basically completely forget about her, I think is an absolute shame to the character of Ghost and a shame to the characters themselves and something not real for them not to mention about what happened to her. I know we're going to see her in a Thunderbolts, but it just felt so out of character for them not to mention her at all. And I just really wish they would have just said something about her. It just didn't feel right not to have that within this movie. Really didn't like it in that sense. Again, too, everything setting up with King and Jonathan Major's performance is 10 out of 10 for me. Absolutely love that. It's absolutely stellar, and I can't wait to see more of his character moving forward within this. He's going to have a huge role in the Fantastic Four movie, and I'm so excited for that. Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome if they can kind of have like the Rama Tut storyline for the Fantastic Four. I think that's something that's going to be really, really cool. So again, too, really good setup for Kang within this movie, but I don't feel like this movie needs to be made or done in this way. Absolutely at all. It didn't really feel like an Ant-Man movie a lot of the ways. Yeah, so really with everything taken together, I'm gonna have to give it a 5 out of 10, and I do feel like that is pretty generous for the most part. And a lot of that too just comes from me loving what they're able to do with King. I do think this movie is a must watch for any Marvel fan because of what they were able to do with Kang and how important he's going to be later on, and just how good Jonathan Majors is within the role. I feel like it is worth a sit down to go through, but just know that a lot of it's the first third and the last third are fucking bad. It's definitely not great. Some great things in the third act that, again, too, mostly just come from Jonathan Majors and Kang being absolutely horrifying. Yeah, no, just it's not a good movie by any stretch, and just easily one of my least favorite Marvel movies. And I really thought that it was going to go differently. I thought this was going to be such a good movie and such a good step for Phase 5. It's a good setup, but not a good movie. So if you've seen Antman and the Wasp: Quantumania, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. And of course, if you like this review, definitely give it a thumbs up. And you can check out everything I do on this channel through our playlist down below, and I'll link some up top here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing and turn that little ringer on so you know when I upload new videos. If you want to check out the description of this video and my channel bio, there's a link to the Medium Mountain, which is my Discord where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, pretty much everything that's awesome in this world. So you can definitely join that basic community, help make it even more amazing than it is already. And yeah, just awesome, guys.
I just hope that someone would love me.